Man, you ever heard of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin? Last year, I owned less than one Bitcoin. It was worth $300, and the price dropped. And so I ran out and sold it. Then the price jumped up. I would have had $1,500 of Bitcoin. But you know what's even better than cryptocurrency? This new currency. It's called Victocurrency. Let's talk about it. Tell them, Bruce.
Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
So cryptocurrency is pretty cool. It's a legitimate currency. It's decentralized and it's not controlled by any central bank, so you never have to worry about inflation, and it was designed for an actual legitimate purpose. And you might be asking, well, what is Victocurrency? Well, the idea is it's currency for victims. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not disparaging actual money going to real, true-to-life victims, and there's a lot of victims that you can think of. Like hurricane victims, for instance. Think Louisiana and South Texas. Also think fire victims. We currently have a lot of fires in California and elsewhere, and later on in the video we'll be saying more about them. Also tsunami victims. Recent one in Japan actually caused a nuclear meltdown as well, really impacting a lot of people. Victims also made by earthquakes, which is near and dear to my heart because I do live in Southern California. Last big one I remember was in Mexico. Now this is a weird one, but fraud victims. People don't really think of the impact that financial fraud has on individuals, but this is actually Bernie Madoff, and those are a lot of celebrities that he took money, but he also took money from just regular old folks that trusted him with their life savings. So that's pretty terrible too. But the victims I'm going to talk about are actually self-made victims. And I'm not saying that these people do this stuff on purpose, but they certainly do convert their victim status into currency, thus the name Victocurrency. Let me give you Exhibit A. Peter Strzok, the FBI agent that was putting out text messages to a woman who he worked with at the FBI, he was cheating on his wife with, and he said some pretty terrible things that made it seem as though he was biased. And for those of you that aren't aware of the story, let me fill you in. 2 years ago during the presidential election, Hillary Clinton had email servers that were kept at her home, and they were investigating to see if she had kept classified information on them. And Peter Strzok was an investigator looking into this particular case. And also at this time it had come to the attention of the FBI that there was Russian interference into the election that possibly dealt with Donald Trump and his campaign. And so during these particular investigations, he was sending text messages back and forth with his mistress, essentially saying things like, "Don't worry, we will do everything we can to stop Trump, and that will never happen," talking about him becoming president. Well, the Inspector General looked into all this, and a couple of months ago basically said that Strzok was biased in his dealings with the cases, and he was on the Mueller investigation looking into possible collusion between Donald Trump and Russia. And so they actually removed him from that particular investigation team, citing that bias would cause problems with his judgment and objectivity. Well, just today, he was finally fired by the FBI. And for most of us, when we lose a job or get fired for misconduct, that's kind of the end of the world. We feel terrible, we feel awful. And so you would think that Strzok would just kind of go away, disappear, hide in a little closet and cry or something. But you see, in this day and age, victimhood is actually currency. You can convert it into hard cash. And so he started a GoFundMe, and what this GoFundMe was for him to basically pay legal fees and whatnot. But let's be honest, like so many others before him, once you reach a certain level of victimhood and you can try to claim that you were in the right and you're a hero from the left side of the political aisle, people will open their wallets and line up to give you money and take care of you. And so he has squarely put himself in a place where essentially he may not have to work another day in his life. He might be set up for life. He might have had the unlimited credit card of Victocurrency, and he's going to be all right. Peter Strzok is going to be just all right. And so I want to kind of bring this all the way around to the idea about victimhood. Now, this obviously is not the face of a real victim. Real victims have circumstances not of their making, but they need financial help nonetheless. And so I was actually hoping that this video could bring awareness to help the fire victims in California and elsewhere. I have a link in the description. It's for a charity, and I hope you will find it in your heart to go there, check it out, and if you have something to give, help out your fellow citizens and whatnot. And just remember, say no to Victocurrency. There's nothing good in that. Anyway, y'all, I appreciate y'all watching my video. Have a wonderful day, night, or whenever you watch this. God bless.